pers- dive into what you think your role is, or how if you want to zoom out, kind of media plays in this space, and I'll give some context as well, because this is something that I've been struggling with, right? So I come from an engineering background, and the way we tend to think about problems is super scientific. You develop a technology, and then it's best technology wins. The best thing for sustainability is X, whether it's electrification, whether it's a hybrid, whether it's a hydrogen, and that's going to perpetuate. But I've come in my own mind to realize that that's a small piece of the equation. So there's the technology that comes into it, there is the public perception of that technology, and there's the regulation. And these aren't three independent silos. They somehow all work together. And
They
so,
do.
yeah,
They
how do
really
you think
do.
about that?
You know, I kind of like to think about it as I have a chance to spotlight, some of those broader goals and measure in a way how companies are, meeting, regulations or their own stated goals. That's one that I think has kind of stuck with me over the years. Is there's a lot of companies out there that can talk a good game, but do they walk their own walk? Do they meet their own deadlines that they set? And I think that's kind of one role of the media here, is to not just hold companies accountable, but to kind of poke around at. There's so much hype in the mobility space right now too. So I think being able to just tell our readers or our audience like what's really going on here, what's not just where companies are falling short of their own stated goals or regulations, but just kind of like deflating some of that hype and say, here's what a driver assist system really is. And that's probably a
Yeah.
great example right now, is clarifying for people, what these systems are capable of, what their limitations are. And these are really kind of life and death matters. And that sometimes gets lost here, but I really do feel like being able to bring truth to those specific things is an important role for me or anybody else who kind of works in that space.
Yeah, I think the driver assist one. I mean, yeah, there's, I think, the obvious thing of certain companies branding in ways that are not. But I mean, just generally the verbiage that's used in the industry. So there is, right, this J3016 standard, which is supposed to define how we're talking about these systems as an industry. Right, there is a very clear definition of level 1 through 5 systems, ranging from ADAS to ADS, automated driving systems, and even within the industry, engineers, people who are working and communicating about these industry, like we're all using different verbiage, which I can't imagine how complicated it is for someone like my mom who's buying a vehicle and trying to understand actually what's this thing capable of doing.
Sure, and every automaker has their own specific, marketing terminology for some of these systems too, and I think that amplifies that confusion. But the levels of automation is an interesting one, because I feel like it's something that was always meant for engineers, not necessarily for an audience that would be my parents, your mom, like you mentioned. So I don't know what the right solution is on that one in particular, but I do feel like a driver assist system is something that requires a licensed human driver behind the wheel, and an autonomous one is one that in which a human being has no role. And of course, we get to this middle murky level 3 that can be kind of confounding. But I do feel like the more we can simplify that and explain it to a general audience, and perhaps shy away from using the levels of automation, is kind of like one positive benefit that journalists can have for consumers.
How do you think about your role too? So there's the education standpoint with what we're talking about here. There's also the coverage of companies that are working in the space.